Hello, so I'm going to make this video to help out a Reddit post where you were asking how to use the iPad with the circuit tracks and use the virtual synthesizers and things like that on the iPad and control them by the circuit tracks. So it's really easy to do, and it's easy to do, but you need to get a couple cables if you don't have them. So the first thing that you need is a hub. And you have to make sure that the hub has a headphone jack. And if you plan on using it for a long time, make sure that it has a power input. And then the other thing that you'll need is a USB to MIDI adapter. So one side is USB, and then the other side is MIDI in and out. And then the next thing that you'll need is a audio cable that has the I believe it's 3.5 millimeter on one side, so like a normal headphone jack or whatever jack is that's on your dock, but normally it's a headphone jack. Plug that back in real quick, and then that'll go out to two 1/4 inch jacks, so left and right, as you can see here, and then you plug those into the input on your circuit tracks. And then from there, you plug in the USB MIDI. You plug the in port, MIDI in, into the out on the circuit tracks. And then there you go. So now you're set up and ready to go. So you can open up any app on the iPad that allows you to assign synths or plugins to a specific MIDI channel, or and then from there you can play the instrument. So I found that AUM, the app that you're looking at now, works the best. I know there's a couple other DAW type apps that you can use that you can assign MIDI channels to devices and things like that, but I had some trouble with those, but this is the best one that I found, and it's really straightforward on how to use it. So what you do is you create new channels here and assign them devices, assign the device a MIDI channel, and then assign what the output would be, which is the headphone jack. And we'll create one at the very end so you can see that, but that's the basic setup. And then over here on the track, you just have to know that Synth 1 is MIDI channel 1, Synth 2 is MIDI channel 2, MIDI 1 is MIDI channel 3, MIDI 2 is MIDI channel 4. So when you set up your devices over here, you have to assign whatever one you want to be MIDI 1, you need to assign it to channel 3 or MIDI channel 3, and then whatever device, virtual device you want as MIDI 2, you have to select MIDI channel 2, MIDI channel 4 on the device. So what you can see here is that I have this set up. This is the Moog Model D instrument, and that's set as MIDI channel 3, which would be MIDI 1. This is set, this is Synth 1. This is set up as MIDI channel 4, which is MIDI 2 on the tracks. So just demo that real quick so you can see. So now we're gonna play the Moog. So you can see that's working, and now if we switch to MIDI 2, it's going to play. So that's how you do that. And then from there, the last thing you could do if you wanted to get more involved is that you could assign, if you open up the device here, you can go in and assign, you can change the settings. It depends on what device, but this one you can change it if you go into settings, and then you do, I'm not sure where it is, but if you go in the settings and poke around in the different instruments and things like that you have, you can change the CC values for the different controls. So then you could go and you can actually have them set to learn as well in a lot of these apps. So you could go in there, have it learn, so that when you turn one of these knobs, you select whatever knob you want on your device, and then you tell it to learn whatever knob you turn, and then you turn a knob, and then it'll learn that as the knob that controls the virtual knob. And you can do that for all the rest of the knobs for whatever control you want, and then you can fully control the synth the way that you want from Circuit Tracks and not have to play with the iPad. So once you get everything set up in AUM and you add your different instruments and things like that, set the channels up, make sure they work properly, then you can set the CCs on the knobs and mainly just stick to keeping the workflow on the Circuit Tracks rather than bouncing back and forth between the iPad and trying to use your finger and turn the knobs and things like that. So yeah, so real quick to show you the configuration that you would set up here is you would add the device and you would say you want it to be audio, which is tricky. It's not MIDI, so you want audio. Select your audio unit extension or your inter-app audio, whatever the synthesizer or instrument provides. So we'll select Sunriser, and then we will select, okay, it's already going through there, and then we click on the configuration again and select what channel you want. By default it's set to all, so we'll do none, and then we'll just say channel 4 so that we can control it from the MIDI. It's from the MIDI on the Circuit Tracks, but you can, something I do want to try is you can set different channels for these on the MIDI track. So I think if you do shift setup and then select the MIDI, yeah, I'm not really sure how to do it. I haven't done that yet, but you can change the channels. So theoretically you could set up all your instruments in here and then set them all to different channels from 3 to 16, and then over here if you wanted to play a different instrument without setting it all up and assigning it or changing channels and all that kind of good stuff, you could just do it from here really quickly. If you look in the manual on how to do it, you could just change the channel to these and then just bounce between different instruments using the same session here that you can save, so that every time you boot this up and open a save file, it'll load all your instruments up with different all the channels that you've saved, and you can bounce between them just by changing it here, which is convenient, but I just haven't done that yet. Yeah, so we can change it to channel 4, and then from there you go out of here, and then what I do is I go up here. I'm not like the best at this app, but this is where I found to do it. You go to your routing, and then you select your Sunriser here, and you tell it you want to use your USB MIDI, and now it's going to use that for MIDI. So we should see both of these trigger when we hit a note, and we are. So you see both of these are triggering on channel 4. If we change this to channel, let's just say 7 to make it go away, and then we should see that. Oh, it's still set to channel 4 as well. Okay. Not sure why that's still triggering, but yeah, I'm not sure why that's still triggering, but you get the idea. Sometimes you just have to play with the configuration a little bit, get it dialed in. Once you dial it in and everything's configured right on the correct channels and all that good stuff, you go over here, save, and then you can save this session so that when you open it back up, you don't have to go through all the configuration again. You can just open up your session and then it'll load everything up for you. Just make sure all your stuff's plugged into the tracks, and then you're good to go. Hope this is helpful. Bye-bye.